Round 6 was a very odd one, with lots of low scores all round. I finally got my rank going in the right direction with 1984, and it could have been a much better week if a few things had gone my way. Going over the team and Dane Zorko failed me yet again. Even worse this time, with a 76, and that was after he saved it from being far worse. I didn't get a chance to watch this game, but based on the numbers the Lions put up in this game, they didn't get much of the ball, and it was an all-round low possession game. With that said, Zorko is usually that type of guy who still scores well in these games, but it was not the case. I still believe Fletcher has his role, and part of Brisbane's succession plan is to use him less and build other options. I don't think I have the luxury to trade him, but I'm certainly not happy with him there. Jaden Short was very disappointing. I didn't get to watch this game, but I did follow along with the scores every now and again. I don't know if something happened to him, but he scored 0 points in the final quarter. I don't think he was off because his time on ground is still high, so if anyone knows, let me know. Matt Roberts was someone who I considered trading at half-time. I wished I did. He was on just 39, I believe. But then he turned it on with 40 points in the third, ending up with 99, which I'm very happy with. Along with his teammate, who I'll get to in a second, Roberts was just about the only guy back there who didn't let me down. If you've been following along all year, you'd know that Miles Bergman has been a very interesting own for me to say the least. He started slow, but came good before he was injured and subbed out last week. But this round, he decided to drop a 33, which is just awful, and I think my time with him might be coming to an end. He started the game with a free kick against him, and it was just downhill from there. 13 points at halftime is atrocious, and I've gotten used to him dropping marks this year, but if one or two stuck, it would have been nice. I reckon Farrell hates him though, because there was a good amount of times that Bergman was open and Farrell turned the other way and kicked it to a Swans player. Bergman doesn't even get any kick-ins with 2 all year. Even Rory Atkins got one. He is really underutilised, I think, but still probably needs to go for me now. 12 touches, 1 mark, and 1 tackle is rubbish. He had 3 single-digit quarters. Just awful. But like I said before, Riley Bice didn't let me down with a 72, which is great. He's just getting the job done and playing good footy. He's the rookie I'm most comfortable to field and will probably be the last one standing, although between him and Ashcroft, it is close. And Zach Reid was on field for just the 2nd time this season. And of course, after watching him rack up on my bench, he went and scored just 36, which is shocking. He didn't get involved in the chip marking, and even though he was in the ruck a bit with Draper injured, he got very few hitouts. It's unfortunate and just shows why we should still be getting rookies off field. Now for my bench, that somehow scored 179 points less than last week and a combined total of 1 point. I made possibly the worst trade-in of all time. I got someone worse than a red dot. It was, of course, Saad El Hali, who managed to score -1. He came on as the sub, and while I could have probably found someone else or gone down to a red dot, I didn't, because I figured he'd come on and score 30-odd and eventually lose the vest. Well, he came on all right. He was on the ground for 30% of the game and managed just 1 handball right at the very end before giving away a free. Just awful stuff all round. Honestly, I hope he gets dropped because I wouldn't mind a red dot to loop in the future. At least a red dot can't score negatives. Never mind, I thought I had Trainer on the bench, but he was actually in my utility. Nevertheless, he still scored 2 points, also coming on as the sub, for incredibly low game time. Maybe he's just getting managed as a younger player, but I thought he's been very good this year, so I'd be very surprised if he gets dropped. And don't even get me started on why Noah Bolter is allowed to play. But anyway, we then had Connor Stone actually on the bench, and he did well, scoring 62, which is great, and he probably has some more cash to make now. The midfield is where it's all got much better, but before I can get to that, I have a big announcement to make. I recently reached a big checkpoint on YouTube, which has allowed me to unlock a few things. The main thing is something that you may have already noticed. I have created a new YouTube membership program with some good perks for viewers who want to support me. But before I explain what it involves, It's important that I mention that nothing will be changing with my current content. I'll have the same videos, the same quality, and it will all be free. However, for those interested in a bit more, this is what the membership looks like. If you click on the Join button next to where you subscribe, you will see that there are two levels, the Bench Warmer and the Super Sub. As a bench warmer, for a couple bucks a month, you support me and my channel. In return, you get a little members badge that indicates how long you've been a member. You also get a couple of custom emojis that you can use, which I'm planning to add to. And the big thing is that you will also get priority reply to comments. I know I already try to answer most comments, but I have a busy life, and there's only so many I can get to. As a member, I will make sure yours is one I answer. And then for $1 more, we have the Super Sub membership, which involves all of the perks I just mentioned, plus a lot more. The biggest feature is early access for videos. Now I try to get them out as early as possible during the season, but I still schedule my videos for later in the day, so during the season it may only be hours earlier that you get to see new and unreleased videos. But in the off-season and pre-season, I often schedule videos days and even weeks in advance, but you will get to see them the second I've made them and way before everyone else. I will also be posting a lot for members each week before the round, with members-only posts for top 5 captains, my final trades, polls, and more. You will also get my monthly upload schedule, which comes in handy in the trade period and pre-season, when you want to know when and what videos will be coming out. In future seasons, I'll also be looking to start a head-to-head league with our longest supporting members, so if you want that to be you, get in early. And if we have the numbers, I'll start on after the buys or something. But of course, there is absolutely zero pressure to sign up, and my regular content will all remain the same and free. I know there's the cost of living going on, which is why I've kept it cheap at just a couple of dollars a month. I've poured thousands of hours into this channel without making a cent, and while I do it because I enjoy it, if you wanted to support me financially, I would be extremely grateful. But once again, there is no pressure. You can cancel at any time. And if you want to help me out without spending a cent, just make sure you are subscribed and like the video. Thanks for your time, and now we get back to it. Connor Rosie scored 101, which is a lot less than it initially looked like being. Funnily enough, he actually scored best in the first quarter and a half when Jordan was tagging him, but he slowed right up. But that halfback role is real, and he is doing his absolute best to get as much ball as possible. Big scores are coming from him, I reckon. Nick Dacos was the brilliant trade in that I expected him to be and needed him to be. The VC on him on Thursday night put me at ease across the weekend, although I did have some problems with the loop, which I will discuss a little later. But 131 from him when there were no other tons in the game. Love him or hate him, he's a pretty handy player. No more messing around with mid-prices when these premiums are just absolute guns. I did expect a bit more out of Brayshaw, but credit to Melbourne, they actually played very well. He started very well, racking up like 7 touches in the first 5 minutes, but after he got sent off for blood rule, he slowed a lot. I think he's fine, and 106 is still a great score. He had plenty of touches, a goal, and the most marks he's had all year. He just didn't get the tackles, so if a guy who relies so heavily on tackles can score without them, then it's probably a good sign, actually. Jack McRae had his 3rd bad score in a row with an 83. He started the season averaging 125 in the first 3, and his next 3 have come at an average of just 75. I don't know what's gone wrong for Jack, but it's not good and not what we want to see. Clayton Oliver was all right with 81, but this is far less than expected and hoped for. He didn't get too much of the ball with 25 touches, but 20 of those were handballs, which is not what we want to see. It's his lowest score of the season, but he is still averaging almost 100 and has a great run coming up. I wouldn't be looking to trade. Bailey Smith started well, but fell away to score 84. That's his first bad score of the year, and he wasn't getting tagged, but he just stopped. It leaves Hewitt as the only guy to ton up in every game. The commentators were hyping Smith up, but he really wasn't that good, but maybe I'm just a salty Hawks fan. I mean, I definitely am, but the Cats definitely deserved to win. Anyway, moving on. Adam Chera had his best game of the season against North, scoring 109 points. He's been incredibly consistent, but we haven't seen any ceiling scores that we know he can produce. Still, it's a very good problem to have. What I love about him is that he gets plenty of possessions, but also marks and tackles, which is what allows him to be consistent. Xavier Lindsay was the midfield rookie I chose to field, and I could have gone to trainer instead. Luckily, I avoided the two though, and although I was hoping for more, a 63 isn't too bad in the end. Lindsay gave me a scare when he started so slowly, but he came good. Ted Closey was the sub. First, he was a late out of the VFL side, before being listed as an emergency for the main team. Then, he was a late in for that. Classic Geelong right there. I know a lot of people were planning to loop with him, so that really does suck as teams were locked in by the time we found out. Still, 28 is all right for how long he played. On the bench, Christian Moraes was awful for 30 points. I'm pretty sure he was on 20 at quarter time too. He has been really bad since we traded him in, and he has barely beaten his break-even this week. I used Harry Boyd to loop Dacos on as vice-captain, but I had to make the decision while he was still named on the extended bench, which was very scary. This is because both of the rucks played the early Friday games, and if Boyd was named, it could have been my season over then and there. Tom de Koning scored 62, which wasn't a huge surprise, but lower than expected. He's really struggled in his last three, not finding much of the pill and not marking or tackling. I didn't want to trade Zeri before because I believed he would come good, but I do think Tom could go. If anything, he could get worse, with Pitnet potentially coming in. Zeri was a surprise, however. I had a mate tell me that he was going to bounce back big this week, and I didn't believe it. 11 tackles is huge compared to what he's been doing recently, but I don't think we can say he's back just yet. This year we've seen him clearly opting to handball and not kick, and he continued that with just 2 kicks and 14 handballs. This is compared to last year when it was closer to a 50-50 split. But the good this is that his time on ground was back up, so we've got to be happy with what he's put up. For anyone without him, he is looking incredibly cheap. Just putting it out there. Petraka has looked better these last 2 weeks, and he had his second ton in a row. He didn't get too many touches, but he's getting a good amount of tackles and marks, which I like to see. Melbourne also looked so much better on the weekend, so if they can turn that ship around a bit, then I would expect some better scoring. And as I mentioned with Oliver, he has an incredible run coming up, so he might be someone to target as a non-owner. Isaac Rankin scored 98, and he did well to save it. He was 55 early in the second and then completely stopped, with 68 points at three-quarter time. But a good last quarter and a late goal almost got him to triple figures. He got tagged by Bedford too, and I'm not sure how many players ton up against Snooze, so this is actually very good signs. What I'm going to do is actually release my best 22 in the post section, for members only, so that'll be there if you become a super sub member, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree with what I've got. Jason Horne-Francis was superb. Once again, he played better than the 105 suggests, but still for an impact player to be scoring that high is great. He did what Bergman couldn't, taking plenty of marks, and many of which were contested. A lot of the Port guys slowed down in the final term though, and he only had 10 points, so it really could have been big. But he's back all right, and 3 tons in a row is great. Caleb Daniels scored just 80 points. He has a thing for starting well and then fading away late. But he's not much of a concern for me, and he's been great this season. However, he might not be locked away as a top 6 forward now though. But he wouldn't be far off. And Levi Ashcroft had the 63rd. Like Zach Reed from before. Yes, he's been doing well, but he's still a rookie. It's a well-needed reality check for people like me who are deliberately putting more rookies on field. Although he wasn't as bad as his brother Will, who scored a 40. I'm glad I didn't trade Sam Davidson too, because he was brilliant for 87 points with a big effort at the end. His cash will continue to rise, and he's been a great cash cow for us. Along with Ashcroft and Bice, He will be one of the last rookies remaining on my field. Caden Cleary was shocking with just 33, which is way down on what he's done before. Pretty much all the rookies traded in this week were terrible apart from Will White. And yeah, that's a bad score and will kill his cash gen. And Murphy Reed on the bench was really good. 74 is awesome, and he is quietly making a lot of cash. If he could kick straight, it would have been a huge score, but still very good to see. So there we have it, 1984 points, which was a round rank of just under 10,000. My trades were mostly good. Nevitt and Sam De Koning both had to go, and they were both terrible. Dacos was a great in, and it's just Sardell Hawley who was a stupid decision. My -3 has to go to Miles Bergman for just 33 points, which is horrific for a guy who played out the entire match. Just so bad. If he could have gotten a 90, I would have been at a round rank under 3,000, but oh well. Choosing him and Petraka over Bowie and Dawson has now added up to costing me 230 points, and that's without considering Dawson as a captain option. Just this one wrong decision would have had me ranked under 500, but I can't change anything now. And the +3 has to go to Nick Dacos. For the second week in a row, I traded someone in and got their score twice, which has been great. But I do think it was a decent round for me and could have been better without the 33. I was very lucky to not field Trainer or El Hawley at least. I missed a few of the big scores from Dawson, Whitfield, Bowie and Gawn. But perhaps the most annoying was Riley Sanders, who somehow managed 130 points, even with a 13-point first quarter. He chose the weak Bont came back, which should have made it harder to score, and just decided to score 40 more than he has in any other round. He was open pretty much the entire game, and as a result, he took 11 marks. He had only ever taken more than 5 marks once in his career, which was his very first game when he had 7. And all of a sudden, 11. Crazy stuff. Something I did want to mention with my team is the lack of ceiling scores though. In the first 3 rounds, I had 17 individual scores over 110. That's just under 6 a round. Last week I had 3. And this week I had only 2. Zeri and Dacos. Even as I continue to trade these premiums in, I am really struggling for big scores, but I guess at the same there are positives. I've only had 3 scores of 120 in the last 2 weeks, and I have captained 2 of them. But anyway, my team value is looking okay, but I'd like it to be a bit higher than where it currently is. Nearing 21.9 though, so it's better than a lot of others. Thinking about trades, the obvious thing that we would love to do is use 2 rookies who have made us cash and go down to one who is set to rise and then up to a premium. However, I won't be able to afford to go right to the top just yet. And I also have Bergman to fix up. I'm not sure on people's break-evens just yet, but I'll be looking to go Bergman and Trainer to probably Nick Martin for some versatility and a cheap rookie. I'd like to bank a bit of coin if possible too, so that I can afford upgrades in the next few weeks. But we shall have a look at the rankings now. No surprise, but Jacob is still in first, currently sitting at 12,171 points, and he's got a considerable gap now from anyone else, although that team value might need a bit of a boost. The highest score for the round came from David, who had 2,257 and way more than anyone else by far. And in the Open League, we have 28 people in the top 5,000, which is great to see. And congratulations to Tim, Jacob and Lucas, who are all right up there in Hilux territory. A couple of the guys from the traders are also doing very well. That's it for me today. Check out the memberships, and I'll see you on Thursday.